A beloved member of our Avon community, Bryce Culverhouse, passed away from a severe heart attack on Monday, September 11th. Mr. Culverhouse was a substitute teacher at Avon High School for many years, but more than that, he was a friend to staff members and a friendly face to many students. He had a passion for art, studying at Kendall College of Art and Design and sharing pieces in art exhibitions. Mr. Culverhouse is from St. Joseph, Michigan. Here are some ways those at the high school can remember Mr. Culverhouse.
So my memories of Mr. Culverhouse, Bryce, as I called him often, as I reflect on him and the impact he had on my life and, my teaching career, but also kind of personally as he became a good friend of mine, he was very reliable. Bryce, whenever he would sign up to be a sub, he always followed through. He was always there. And I always just really came to appreciate that. And it always, whenever I put in for a sub and it came as Bryce, I was always, okay, he's going to show up.
So I've known Mr. Culverhouse since he started here, I believe. I've been here for 15 years and kind of known him over the years. He subbed a lot of my classes and I kind of always requested him when I had the chance because he was always interested in me, and it's not always the case that people take an interest in just who they just meet randomly. And the first time he ever subbed for me was, I do a lab for my Physics 2 class where they go down and they build boats out of cardboard and take them across the swimming pool. So obviously while I was doing that, I couldn't teach my class. And so he came in and filled in. And he was so interested in it and asked me about it. And so every year when I did it, he would come and fill in on those days and ask how I was doing. And I think it's so easy for people to just kind of gloss over and the people we meet for a minute here or a minute there, and without really getting to know each other. And over the years, we talked to get to each other a lot and got to know one another. And one thing that is always fascinating to me is he was an artist. So I always asked about the art he was doing and the shows he was entering in and where they were showing his art. And if you've never had a chance to see it before, it's really fascinating what he would do. And I was always interested in that. He was always interested in me, and it was just a great relationship to have with him. And just getting to know him on a personal level. Whenever I would see him in the hallway, even if he wasn't subbing for me, he would always wave at me and talk to me. And that's kind of something that you don't always see. And I really, really appreciated that about him.
So Mr. Culverhouse was my substitute teacher one time, and there was a song playing over the intercom, I think by Bob Marley maybe, and he was like, is anyone interested in learning more about Bob Marley? And we were all like, of course. And then he started talking to us about him, and then we just kind of had this discussion about music. And then I saw him again a couple days later in the hallway, and he showed me this painting that he did about the Beatles, and he was all excited about it. And then from then on there, we just kind of always started talking about politics, about school, about the world. He was really entertaining to talk to.
So I wanted to talk about how friendly a person he was. Anytime I saw him in the hall, he was always initiating conversations with me. When I worked parking lot duty, I would see him every day after school, and he'd always come talk to me and always have some funny or crazy or weird story about something that happened during that day. The other thing I want to mention is, so I do the journalism classes, newspaper classes, and I know he loved getting to sub for my classes. Bryce had such a passion for graphic design. He was an amazing artist, and he loved to be able to share that passion with me, with my students, and I know the newspaper students were often some of the ones he felt he could connect with in that way. And then the last thing is really just what a dependable presence he was in this building. I mean, he was here every day subbing, and you almost always saw him at some point throughout the week. And I mean, that really is a big deal, just kind of being there and being a staple for this building. So I know me and many others are really gonna miss him.
Mr. Culverhouse was very funny. He was very kind, very accepting, very open to all sorts of people and all sorts of ideas. A lot of people might not know this, but he was very interested in social justice and social action. He was an avid supporter of the LGBTQ community, of women's rights. He was just very accepting of all people. I remember he told me that he had neighbors from Afghanistan that moved here after the Taliban took over Afghanistan, and he said that he would always go and sort of take care of them, look after them, and make sure they were doing okay, and teach them the American ways. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is that he was an artist. He did something called typography, which is where he would take historical figures, people that had inspired the world. So Frida Kahlo, he had a lot of really cool ones of Native Americans. And he would make their picture out of speeches that they had given or words that they had said.